when am I going to have my own branded cigarette? I'd love to say that I'm totally going to do that and that I'm absolutely going to make my own cigarette brand. And while that would be really cool to do, regulation, legalese, all of it is something that I don't want to deal with. If it was as simple as simply getting a blended tobacco that I like and putting it in a cigarette and just selling it, I'd totally do it. If it was that simple, I would absolutely have a cigarette brand. Honestly, I might already have one. But there is a crazy amount of regulation when it comes to cigarettes today in the United States. If you would like to know more about the regulation, I did an interview with David Slay, the owner of Hestia Tobacco. Hestia Tobacco is a small tobacco company. It's a startup. And he sells like craft cigarettes and stuff like that kind of thing. Cigarettes that personally I do quite enjoy. And during the interview, I spoke with him to some extent about the regulations and the challenges of starting a tobacco company. And that was an extremely eye-opening interview. And what he had to say was very eye-opening to me because I already knew that the regulation of cigarettes in the United States was harsh and that getting them onto market was difficult if you don't have an established presence in the United States. I didn't realize that it was harder than I thought it already was, though. Getting an unestablished cigarette brand onto the United States market is extremely difficult. And if you would like to know more about that, I do recommend you check out the interview I did with Mr. David Slay over on Jacob fucking Jones. It's a great interview. It was a great time chatting with him. He's a really chill dude. And I highly recommend checking that interview out because it was a very eye-opening experience for me. And I think if you're interested in tobacco regulation at all, it's a worthwhile watch. But after that interview, I was like, you know, I still want to start my own cigarette brand. But having heard how many loops, how many jumps, how many hoops you have to go through to actually get one going, I was like, I don't know. If I was going to do a tobacco brand, which is still something I want to do, I don't have the capital to make my own tobacco or cigarette brand right now. But if I was to make my own tobacco brand, it probably would not be cigarettes in all honesty. It would more than likely either be pipe tobacco or cigars, just due to the fact that there's less regulations and less harsh regulations around pipe tobacco and cigars. For example, with pipe tobacco and cigars, you can order them online in, I want to say, like 45 out of the 50 states in the United States. Cigarettes, that number is 0. 0. You are not allowed to mail cigarettes or order cigarettes online in the United States. That is an illegal thing to do. Pipe tobacco and cigars in like 45 out of the 50 states, you can do that though. So it's just a lot easier to get the product to your consumer as a small company who might not have the distribution system set up to actually have your product in stores yet. And it's a lot easier to do that, to get the product actually to your customers as a cigar company or as a pipe tobacco company, even if there are less customers. Because, of course, in the United States, cigarettes are the dominant form of tobacco consumption these days. With vaping being number 2, although one could argue it's not actually tobacco, but it's still got nicotine in it, so I'm counting it for this. And then number 3 these days would probably be nicotine pouches, in all honesty. I'm not sure if vape juice or nicotine pouches, I'm not sure if you're allowed to order those over the internet, but pipe tobacco and cigars, you're allowed to. And even with the fact that pipe tobacco and cigars are not what they once were and that there's just simply less of a market for them because there's less people that smoke pipe tobacco and cigars when compared to cigarettes and vape juice and nicotine pouches. In my opinion, starting a company in that segment would just be better for me and my personal just experience with starting a tobacco company, just simply because it would be that much easier. Genuinely, it would be that much easier for me to actually get the product to the people who want it. Because if I'm selling cigarettes in one state, but there's a lot of people in another state that want my cigarettes, they can't get my cigarettes in that state due to a variety of different regulation reasons. One of the things I didn't realize, but that I learned from talking with David Slay, is that when it comes to cigarettes, you have to register them in every single state you sell them in. every single state. And some states don't have a process up to like introduce new cigarettes, because there's not a lot of new cigarettes being introduced into the American market these days. And when there are new cigarettes introduced, it's mainly the big tobacco companies who might have some play, kind of thing. But if you're a small company, you have no play. And it's just there's so many hoops to go through. There's so many steps to go through that as much as I would love to say that I would totally start a tobacco company, it's not something I'm sure if I would want to do, even though I do want to do that. I think that would be really cool to do. It's not something I'm sure I would actually really truly want to do, just because of the amount of, no better way of saying it than, there's a lot of hassle involved with that. And it would just be a lot more stress-free to do a pipe tobacco that you could also roll, or a cigar, or something like that kind of thing. Yeah. Chromatic Mushroom, you're saying you can order nicotine pouches online. That's good to know. I did not know that. That is very good to know. Appreciate the information, my man. Maybe start the brand in another country south of the border. I ain't selling black market cigarettes in the United States, but you do have a good point. You do have a good point. Tobacco regulation is already complex enough in the United States, though. I'm sure it's just as complex in a lot of other countries. But as somebody not from those countries, it would be a whole new system to learn. It would be a whole new system to learn. So, excuse me. I'd probably just stick with like pipe tobacco or cigars if I was to start a tobacco company, which as of this moment in time, I don't have the capital to do. I'd love to do it. I don't have the capital to do it right now, though. But I would absolutely love to do that. I'd love to release a Jacob Jones brand pipe tobacco or brand cigar or something along those lines. I think it would be really fun. Even if it ended up not panning out and not being profitable, which is a strong possibility. It's still something that I would really like to do just to have done it, kind of thing. I'll acknowledge. Not every business enterprise is going to be profitable, but one of my goals is to, frankly put, have enough money where I can do little business enterprises like that while I do want them to at least not lose all of my money, they don't need to be profitable, so I can do them and do little items and stuff like that kind of thing without stressing too much. I like money, and I want more money to have some experiences with the business world, even if they aren't successful profit-wise kind of thing. Just because I think it would be really cool to make a Jacob Jones branded cigar or pipe tobacco. I think it would be so cool to do that. And even if it didn't make a single penny, even if I lost money on it, I want to be able to do that. And that's kind of a personal goal of mine, I'll acknowledge. I would love to release an actual brand named cigar or pipe tobacco. Even if it didn't make any money, I would love to do it.